The United Nations building had never been so full. Every nation sent representatives. The Galactic Council sent their best diplomats. Security was everywhere, but mostly they just checked badges and directed people to the right conference rooms. President Karen Hughes arrived early. She had read the briefing documents on the flight from Washington. The aliens were offering technology, medical advances, faster-than-light travel, membership in something called the Galactic Council. It sounded too good to be true, which meant it probably was. She made a mental note to have the lawyers review everything carefully. Commander Zekthor sat across the negotiation table and tried to maintain his composure. He had done this 40 times before. First contact, then negotiations, then integration. It always followed the same pattern. The primitive species would be desperate. They would accept any terms. They would beg for the technology. Humans were not begging. So, Karen said, looking at her notes, you're offering us faster-than-light travel, medical technology that could extend our lifespans by 300 years, and full membership in your Galactic Council. Yes, Zekthor said. In exchange for access to your planet's resources and your agreement to abide by Council laws. What kind of resources? Asked Secretary Chen, who sat next to Karen. And what are these Council laws exactly? Ambassador Yell projected a hologram. It showed mining operations, agricultural zones, and trade routes. Standard resource agreements. Your planet has several rare minerals. We would extract them. How much would you extract? Secretary Chen asked. And what's the environmental impact? This was not how negotiations usually went. Zekthor checked his notes. The environmental impact would be minimal. We would extract approximately 15% of your rare earth deposits. 15%? Karen wrote this down. Over what time period? 50 of your years. And the payment structure? Secretary Chen was taking notes too. Would this be a purchase agreement or a lease arrangement? Zekthor felt his primary heart rate increase. Payment? We are offering you technology worth more than your entire planet. Right, Karen said. But you also want our resources. So this is a trade agreement. We need to understand the terms. She looked at her watch. I think we should break here and reconvene tomorrow. This is a lot to process. Tomorrow? Zekthor stood up. All four of his eyes widened. We are offering you the stars. We are offering you centuries of life. We are offering you membership in a civilization that spans 10,000 worlds. And you want to reconvene tomorrow? Well, it's a big decision, Karen said reasonably. We need to consult with our scientific community. Run some economic projections. I have a call scheduled with the G20 leaders tomorrow afternoon. She paused. Also, it's my son's birthday on Thursday. I promised I'd be home for that. Yella's crystalline form flickered. Your offspring's birthday is more important than this negotiation? I didn't say it was more important. I said I promised. Karen stood up and gathered her papers. We'll have a response for you by Friday. Is that acceptable? Zekthor had no response. He simply watched the humans file out of the room, chatting among themselves about lunch plans. Across the planet, the news spread. Social media exploded with opinions, jokes, and analysis. The Galactic Council monitoring stations intercepted millions of communications. They expected panic, fear, religious upheaval. Instead, they found posts like the one from Greg Campbell, a college student in Ohio. Aliens are real and honestly kind of boring. Was expecting tentacles or laser eyes or something. These guys just look like tall lizards. 6 out of 10. The post went viral. 40 million likes in 6 hours. In Geneva, Dr. Marcus Webb sat in a secure facility with a team of scientists. They were examining the alien technology specifications. The council had provided basic schematics as a show of good faith. This is incredible, said Dr. Amy Chen, a physicist from Beijing. She was studying the faster-than-light drive. But it violates everything we know about physics. Not violates, Marcus said. He was making notes on his tablet. More like bypasses. Look at this section here. They're creating a bubble of altered spacetime. The ship doesn't actually go faster than light. It just changes what light speed means in its local area. Right, but the energy requirements should be impossible. Amy zoomed in on the power system. Unless she did some quick calculations. Marcus, look at this. If we modify the energy distribution here and adjust the field harmonics here, we could reduce the power consumption by 30%. You're right. Marcus started typing. We should send them a note. A note? Amy looked at him. We've had this technology for 3 days and we're suggesting improvements? Well, yeah. If we're going to use this, it should be efficient. They sent their suggestions via email. The subject line read, FTL Drive Optimization Notes. On the Valorian ship, Zekthor read the email 3 times. Then he called Ambassador IL to his quarters. They are suggesting improvements, he said. His voice was flat. Improvements to what? IL asked. To our faster-than-light drive. The technology we have been using for 6,000 years. They have had the schematics for 3 days and they are suggesting improvements. He forwarded her the email, and they sent it via electronic mail. Like it was a casual suggestion. Yella read through the technical notes. Her form stopped flickering. She went completely still. These suggestions are valid. I know. They would actually work. I know. Zekthor sat down heavily. What kind of species does this? The next day, negotiations resumed. Karen arrived with a thick folder of documents. We've reviewed your offer, she said. We have some questions and some counter-proposals. Counter-proposals? Zekthor had never heard this word in a first contact negotiation. Yes, your medical technology is impressive, but we'd like to maintain our own research programs. We'll accept the technology transfer, but we want it to supplement our work, not replace it. Karen opened her folder. We've also got concerns about the resource extraction. 15% over 50 years is acceptable, but we want environmental protections written into the agreement, and we want a review process every 10 years to assess impact, Secretary Chen continued. Regarding council laws, we need clarification. Some of your laws conflict with our human rights conventions. We'll need exemptions or modifications in several areas. You cannot modify council law, Zekthor said. It has stood for 10,000 years. Then we'll need exemptions, Karen said simply. We're not going to violate our own principles. If that's a problem, we can walk away from this deal. Walk away from technology that would advance their civilization by thousands of years. Zekthor realized with growing unease that she meant it. We will consult with the council, he said. Great. We'll wait to hear back. Karen checked her schedule. Oh, one more thing. You mentioned something about a bulk discount on the medical technology. We'd like to discuss pricing structures. We need to make sure this is accessible to all our citizens, not just the wealthy ones. Bulk discount? Zekthor's translator struggled with the concept. You want a reduced price? Well, we have 8 billion people. That's a significant market. Volume pricing is standard in trade agreements. You are negotiating the price of immortality, not immortality. Life extension. And yes, we're negotiating. That's what negotiations are. The meeting lasted 6 hours. Every time Zekthor thought they were done, the humans had another question. Another concern. Another counter-proposal. They treated the most significant agreement in human history like a business contract, because to them it was a business contract. That evening, Zekthor filed another report with the council. He tried to explain what was happening. The words still felt inadequate. Negotiations ongoing. Humans are demanding modifications to council law. They are suggesting improvements to our technology. They are negotiating prices. They treat this historic moment as a standard business transaction. I do not understand this species. Recommend psychological evaluation. Back in Washington, Karen had dinner with her family. Her son's birthday was the next day. She had promised to be there. How's the alien thing going? Her husband asked. Good. Complicated. They're not used to people negotiating with them. Karen helped herself to salad. I think we'll reach an agreement. They have good technology, but their contract terms need work. Are you going to sign? Her daughter asked. Probably. Once legal reviews everything. After your brother's birthday, Karen smiled. Some things are more important than aliens. In orbit, Ambassador Yell watched Earth turn below. Somewhere down there, the leader of this entire planet was having dinner with her family. Tomorrow she would celebrate her offspring's birthday. The day after, she would review the most important agreement in human history. They are not treating this as important, Yella said. No, Zekthor agreed. They are treating it as important. Just not more important than everything else in their lives. That is what disturbs me. The ship hummed in the darkness. On Earth, 8 billion humans went about their lives. They talked about the aliens. They made jokes. They worried about their jobs and their families and their normal problems. Because for humans, even first contact was just another thing that happened. Important, yes. Historic, certainly. But still just another item on the schedule. fitting between conference calls and birthday parties. 6 months after joining the Galactic Council, Earth received its first assignment. The Council called it an expedition. Most species called it a death mission. The Forbidden Reach was a sector of space where 17 ships had disappeared over the past century. Each ship had been crewed by the best warriors, scientists, and explorers the galaxy could offer. None had returned. The Council needed to know what was out there. They needed someone brave enough or crazy enough to find out. They assigned their best crew. Earth sent whoever was available. Captain Ryan Mitchell read the mission briefing in his quarters aboard the human vessel Pathfinder. He had been a commercial airline pilot before joining the space program. He knew how to stay calm when things went wrong, which they often did. He finished reading and called his crew together. "So we're going to the scary place where everyone dies," said Sophie Turner. She was the chief engineer, formerly of the Mars Colony Project. She was eating an apple. "That's about right," Ryan confirmed. "Cool," said Danny Hayes. She was the pilot. She was currently balancing a stylus on her nose. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow morning." "Questions?" Chris Johnson raised his hand. He was the medical officer. "Do we get hazard pay for this?" "Probably. I'll check with HR." Nicole Price, head of security, was cleaning her sidearm. "Are we meeting the alien crew first?" "Yes, in an hour. Try to make a good impression." The meeting room was designed for important diplomatic encounters. War Master Krell of the Thundorian war host filled most of it. He was 7 feet tall, covered in crimson armor, and had fought in more than 200 battles. His combat honors were engraved on his chest plate. "I am Krell," he announced. His voice rumbled like thunder. "I have survived the Void Predators. I have defeated the Sentinels of Darkness. I have walked through fire and emerged victorious. This mission will test everything you are." "Cool," Ryan said. He shook Krell's massive hand. "I'm Ryan, used to fly 747s. This is Sophie, she fixes things. Danny flies the ship. Chris handles medical. Nicole does security." Krell looked down at the humans. They were small. They looked fragile. They were smiling at him like this was a social gathering. "You do not fear death?" Krell asked. "I mean, we'd prefer to avoid it," Ryan said. "But worrying doesn't help much. Sophie, did you finish the engine modifications?" "Yeah, we should be good. I also packed extra snacks. These long missions get boring." Krell had fought beside warriors from 100 species. He had never seen anyone treat a death mission like a routine trip. He decided these humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Possibly both. The expedition launched the next morning. 2 ships, the Pathfinder and Krell's warship. The Bloodstorm. They jumped to faster than light speed and headed toward the Forbidden Reach. Commander Zekthor was monitoring the mission from the Council flagship. He had argued against sending humans on this mission. They were too new, too inexperienced, but the Council had overruled him. They wanted to see what humans could do. 3 days into the mission, they found out. The ships dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Forbidden Reach. Immediately, every sensor went crazy. There was a massive spatial anomaly ahead. It looked like a whirlpool in space itself, twisting and churning with impossible physics. "Gravitational forces are beyond measurement," the alien navigator shrieked. "We must retreat." Every ship that entered this anomaly was destroyed. On the Pathfinder, Danny was studying her screens. She was still chewing gum. This is weird." "Weird how?" Ryan asked. "It's like that storm system over Jupiter. Remember when we flew through that, Sophie?" Sophie looked up from her engineering console. "Oh yeah, that was tricky. You just have to compensate for the gravitational shear." "Right. Ride the current instead of fighting it." Danny adjusted her controls. "I think I can do this. You think?" Krell's voice came over the communication channel. "This anomaly has destroyed 17 ships." "Yeah, but they probably tried to power through it," Danny said. "That's what most pilots do. It's instinct. But sometimes you have to work with the forces instead of against them." "You are insane," Krell said. "Maybe. Hold on, this is going to get bumpy." Danny flew the Pathfinder directly into the anomaly. The ship shuddered and groaned. Alarms blared. The gravitational forces twisted space around them in ways that should have torn the ship apart. Danny hummed along to the music playing through her headphones. She adjusted the thrust here, compensated there, let the ship drift with the current. It was like surfing if surfing involved gravity waves that could crush you into atoms. They emerged on the other side intact. "See? Not so bad," Danny said. Behind them, Krell's warship followed through the path Danny had created. The Warmaster's hands were shaking. How? He demanded. How did you do that? Physics, Sophie said. The anomaly follows patterns. You just have to find the pattern and work with it. Did you not feel fear? Krell asked. Nicole looked up from her security console. Oh, we were terrified. But panicking would have gotten us killed, so we just did the job. They continued deeper into the forbidden reach. They encountered deadly radiation that should have fried their electronics. Sophie rerouted power and adjusted their shielding. It took her 20 minutes and a lot of creative swearing. They found automated defense systems left by an ancient civilization. Weapons that tracked movement and fired with perfect accuracy. Nicole studied them for a few minutes, then disabled them by throwing a wrench at their sensor array. Simple machines are easy to fool, she explained. They only do what they're programmed to do. They discovered a derelict ship floating in the void. It was massive, bigger than a city, and it was full of something. Scans showed life signs, but they were wrong. Distorted. We should not board that vessel, Krell said. It is clearly dangerous. It's also clearly the source of what's been happening here, Ryan said. We need to know what it is. They suited up and entered through an airlock. The interior was dark and cold. Their lights cast long shadows. Something moved in those shadows. Contact, Nicole said calmly. She raised her weapon. Looks like some kind of automated defense organism. Biological but artificial. The creatures attacked. They were fast and vicious, designed to kill anything that entered the ship. The alien security forces fired back with military precision. The humans fought with practical efficiency. Chris, the medical officer, stayed back from the fighting. He was studying his tablet, analyzing the creatures. I think I can shut them down, he said. You are a doctor, not a soldier, Krell shouted over the sound of weapons fire. Right, but I'm also pretty good with computers. I did IT support in college. Chris was typing rapidly. These things are biological, but they're controlled by the ship's computer system. If I can hack the system, I can turn them off. You can hack a system from an alien civilization that died 1 million years ago? Zekthor's voice came over the comm. He was watching from the flagship. I mean, old systems usually have pretty basic security. Hold on. Chris connected his tablet to a wall port. Got it, yeah, this is actually simpler than our stuff. No password protection or anything. 15 minutes later, the creatures stopped attacking. They simply froze in place, deactivated. There we go, Chris said. Also, I think I fixed a bug in the ship's operating system. It should run more efficiently now. You repaired a 1-million-year-old computer while under attack? Krell's voice was very quiet. Well, I was there anyway. Seemed wasteful not to. They explored the rest of the ship. They found the source of the disappearances. The ancient vessel was automated, designed to capture and study any ship that entered the sector. It had been doing this for 1 million years, collecting data on every species it encountered. Sophie downloaded the entire database. This is incredible. There's information here on species that existed before the Galactic Council was formed. Can you shut down the capture system? Ryan asked. Sure, give me a minute. Sophie worked at a console. Done. It won't grab any more ships. I also optimized its power distribution. It was wasting a lot of energy. They returned to their ships. The mission was complete. They had solved the mystery of the Forbidden Reach, retrieved valuable historical data, and survived where 17 other crews had died. On the trip back, Ryan was doing paperwork. Mission reports, crew evaluations, supply inventories. It was the boring part of command that nobody talked about. Think we'll get a medal or something? Danny asked. Maybe, probably just a commendation. Ryan signed another form. Anyone want to get dinner when we're back? There's that new Thai place near the spaceport. I'm in, Sophie said. Me too, Chris added. On the council flagship, Zekthor was reviewing the mission recordings. He watched humans fly through an impossible anomaly. He watched them disable ancient weapons. He watched them hack computers from a dead civilization while being attacked by biological killing machines. And through it all, they stayed calm. They stayed professional. They treated a death mission like a difficult day at work. Ambassador ELA floated beside him. They succeeded where our best warriors failed. Yes, they did not panic. They did not hesitate. No, why? Yell asked. What makes them capable of this? Zekthor thought about it. He watched Ryan Mitchell file his mission report. The human had saved his entire crew, solved a century-old mystery, and his biggest concern was finishing his paperwork before dinner. I think, Zekthor said slowly, they do not see the difference between easy tasks and impossible ones. The success of the Forbidden Reach expedition made Earth famous across the galaxy. Other species started requesting human consultants, advisors, and crew members. Universities wanted human professors. Military forces wanted human tacticians. Research stations wanted human scientists. The Galactic Council found this deeply troubling. They called an emergency session, classified, maximum security. The Council's high command gathered in a sealed chamber deep within their central station. No recordings were allowed. What they discussed could not leave the room. Admiral Thex of the Krylon Navy spoke first. He was a military commander with 300 years of experience. He had fought in 15 major conflicts. He was not easily disturbed. We have a problem, he said. The humans do not react correctly to danger. Explain, said Elder Vren. She was the oldest member of the Council, over 800 years old. She had seen civilizations rise and fall. 3 days ago, my fleet conducted joint exercises with a human vessel. We simulated a catastrophic engine failure. Emergency protocols demand immediate evacuation. My crew began evacuation procedures instantly as trained. Admiral Thex pulled up a recording. The humans did not evacuate. They stopped the simulation, identified the problem, and fixed it. In 8 minutes. That is their training, Elder Vren said. No, that is my point. We trained for evacuation because engine failures are fatal. They cannot be fixed in time. The humans did not accept this. They simply fixed it. Admiral Thex showed another recording. Then their engineer, a female named Sophie Turner, suggested improvements to our engine design. She said our safety protocols were inefficient because we assumed failure instead of preventing it. Silence filled the chamber. There is more, Admiral Thex continued. During the same exercise, one of my crew members witnessed a human child at a station school. A juvenile named Emma Clark. She is 7 years old. She was explaining quantum mechanics to her teacher using colored blocks. She made it simple enough for the teacher to understand. The teacher has a doctorate in physics. Commander Zekthor stood. He had requested this meeting. Over the past year since first contact, he had been studying humans obsessively. What he had learned terrified him more than any enemy fleet. It is not their intelligence, he said. Many species are intelligent. It is their demeanor. They face universe-ending threats with the same attitude they use to purchase food. He activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared. Hurricanes destroying cities. Earthquakes leveling buildings. Volcanoes erupting. Pandemics spreading. This is their homeworld. What they call a paradise. What we would call a death trap. Zekthor zoomed in on a hurricane. These storms appear regularly. They destroy everything in their path. Humans build houses in the path of these storms. When the storms destroy the houses, humans rebuild them in the same location. That is illogical, said Admiral Thex. Yes, but that is not the disturbing part. Zekthor showed images of humans during a hurricane. Look at how they respond. They board up their windows. They stock food and water. They wait for the storm to pass. Then they clean up and continue their lives. There is no panic, no fleeing. They treat a catastrophic weather event as an inconvenience. Elder Vren leaned forward. Continue. Zekthor showed more images. Floods, fires, tornadoes, blizzards. In every case, humans responded with the same pattern. Prepare, endure, rebuild, continue. Their planet is trying to kill them constantly. They have adapted by simply refusing to be killed. Zekthor paused. But the planet is not the worst threat they face. New images appeared, weapons, bombs, missiles, chemical agents. Biological weapons, they invented these. They created dangers that did not exist naturally. They built weapons capable of destroying their entire species. And then they used them. Look at their history. The display showed wars, thousands of years of conflict, millions dead, cities destroyed, civilizations collapsed, and yet they persist. After every war, they rebuild. After every plague, they recover. After every disaster, they continue. Zekthor's voice was quiet now. In their year 1918, a disease killed 50 million of them, 10% of their population. The next year, they invented the ice cream sandwich and hosted parties to celebrate surviving. They celebrated? Ambassador EL's crystalline form flickered with confusion. After 50 million deaths? Yes, because to humans, survival is worth celebrating. Death is expected. Life is the victory. Zekthor showed more records. During what they call their Cold War, nuclear destruction was probable. Imminent. Their entire species could have been erased at any moment. Do you know what their most popular entertainment was during this time? No one answered. Stories about a man in colorful fabric who fought criminals in a city. Stories about space adventures. Stories about hope and heroism and tomorrow. Zekthor turned to face the council. They stared at extinction every day and chose to tell stories about the future. Elder Vren was silent for a long time. Then she spoke. What are you saying, Commander? I am saying that every species we have encountered processes trauma, fear and danger through panic or shutdown, fight or flight. These are survival instincts. Humans have a third response. They process danger by moving forward. They do not let fear stop them. They do not let trauma break them. They simply continue. Zekthor pulled up one final image. It showed Dr. Paul Martinez, a human scientist working at a council research station. Last week, this human was reviewing our historical archives. He found an error in our calculations of galactic expansion rates, a small computational mistake we have been making for 10,000 years. He corrected it during his lunch break. Then he sent us an email noting the small typo. He apologized for bothering us with something so minor. The chamber was very quiet. 10,000 years of error, corrected over lunch, described as a small typo. Zekthor sat down. Humans have been in space for less than a century. They have been part of the Galactic Council for less than a year, and already they are finding flaws in our 10,000-year-old civilization, not because they are superior, but because they treat everything, from first contact to mathematical errors, as just another problem to solve. Admiral Thex spoke carefully. What are you proposing?
I am proposing we stop trying to understand humans and start learning from them.
We have had peace for thousands of years because we are stable. We do not take risks. We do not change quickly. We maintain what works. Zekthor looked at each council member. Humans do not think this way. They see problems and they fix them. They see inefficiency and they optimize it. They see danger and they walk through it. Not because they are brave, because they do not see any other option. They are dangerous, Admiral Thex said. Yes, but not to us. They are dangerous to stagnation, to complacency, to the idea that things cannot change. Zekthor stood again. I have spent a year studying them. I have watched them work. I have seen them face death with casual professionalism. I have witnessed them treat the impossible as merely difficult. And I have reached a conclusion. Which is, Elder Vren asked, humans are what we should have been, what we could have been if we had not become comfortable. Zekthor gestured to the images still floating in the hologram. They evolved on a death world. They invented new ways to die. They faced extinction repeatedly, and instead of becoming afraid, they became ordinary. They normalized survival. They made facing death part of daily life. That is insane, someone said. Yes, Zekthor agreed, and it is the most effective survival strategy in the galaxy. Because if death is ordinary, then nothing is truly terrifying. If disaster is expected, then nothing is truly catastrophic. Humans do not have special courage. They have normalized fear to the point where it no longer controls them. Elder Vren stood slowly. At 800 years old, she had seen many species join the council. She had never seen one like this. What do you recommend? She asked. I recommend we integrate human advisors into every major fleet and research division, not as warriors or scientists, as what they call consultants. People who look at our problems with fresh eyes and refuse to accept that any problem is unsolvable. You want to put humans in charge? Admiral Thex sounded alarmed. No, I want to put humans nearby, because even when they are not in charge, they change how everyone thinks. They ask why things are done a certain way. They suggest improvements. They refuse to accept that something has always been done one way, as a reason to keep doing it that way. The vote took 3 hours. There were arguments, concerns, fears. But in the end, the council voted unanimously to proceed with Zekthor's recommendation. Humans would be integrated throughout the council's operations. Not as leaders, but as the most dangerous thing the galaxy had ever encountered. People who thought everything was possible until proven otherwise. On Earth, Ryan Mitchell received a notification on his tablet. He read it over breakfast. The council wanted him to serve as a consultant for galactic defense operations. It came with a significant pay increase. He forwarded the message to his supervisor with a note. Got a promotion? Can we discuss that raise we talked about? His daughter Katie sat across from him eating cereal and looking at her phone. Dad, are you famous now? She asked, I guess. They want me to help with Gala. The warning came on a Tuesday morning. The Devourer fleet had been dormant for 10,000 years, sleeping in the dark space between galaxies, ancient, mechanical, programmed with a single purpose to consume all biological life and convert it to fuel. 300 ships, each the size of a moon. They were awake now and they were coming. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Every defense fleet was mobilized. Evacuation plans were drawn for 300 billion citizens across 1,000 worlds. Computer models ran continuously, calculating odds of survival. 12%. On Earth, the news broke during morning drive time. Radio host Charlie Stevens delivered it between traffic reports and weather updates. And in other news, that Devourer fleet everyone's been worried about should reach our sector in about 6 months. So that's not great. Traffic on the 405 is still backed up from that earlier accident, so maybe work from home if you can. Now here's a classic from the Eagles. The song played. People drove to work. Life continued. Commander Zekthor monitored Earth's communications from the Council flagship. He expected panic, martial law, riots, the collapse of social order. Instead, he intercepted a social media post from a teenager in Ohio. Devourer fleet coming to kill us all. Great. That's on top of finals next week. This semester is the worst. The post had 20 million likes. In Geneva, the Global Defense Initiative assembled. Commander Rachel Torres led the human delegation. She had been a naval strategist before joining the space program. Around her sat representatives from every major nation and several private space companies. The Council's projections give us a 12% chance of survival, Rachel announced to the room. That's not ideal, but we've worked with worse odds. What's the plan? Asked General Patterson. He commanded the North American Defense Forces. First, we coordinate with the Council fleets. Second, we analyze the Devourer technology for weaknesses. Third, we build as many ships as possible in the time we have. Fourth, we fight smart instead of hard. Rachel brought up a holographic display. We're not going to win this with firepower. We're going to win it with efficiency. You sound confident, said Admiral Kowalski of the European Space Defense. Not confident. Practical. Panicking won't help, so we might as well work the problem. Across Earth, factories retooled overnight. Car manufacturers started producing ship components. Tech companies shared patents freely. Scientists published their research without waiting for peer review. Every nation, every corporation, every individual who could contribute did. Not because of some great inspirational speech. Because it needed to be done. A high school student in Singapore named Kevin Lim was working on a computer science project. He was interested in network security. He read about the Devourer fleet's synchronized systems and had an idea. He posted it on a forum for amateur programmers. What if we treat their fleet like a botnet? Find the master control protocol and send a shutdown command. A professional programmer in Brazil saw the post and refined the concept. A military strategist in Japan saw the refinement and turned it into a tactical plan. A council scientist saw the plan and realized it could actually work. 3 days later, Kevin's high school project was part of the official defense strategy. His teacher gave him an A on the assignment. Sophie Turner was working 18-hour days at the orbital shipyard. She was modifying human ships to work with council technology. Her team had built 30 new vessels in 2 months. They needed 100. We're not going to make the quota, her assistant said. Then we work faster. Sophie looked at the construction schedule, or smarter. We're building these ships one at a time. What if we use assembly line techniques, build components simultaneously and assemble them in orbit? That's never been done with ships this complex. So, doesn't mean it can't be done. They reorganized the entire production process. Within a week, they were producing ships 3 times faster. Captain Ryan Mitchell was promoted to fleet commander. He now coordinated 300 human vessels and twice that many council ships. It was the largest combined fleet in galactic history. He held his first command briefing via hologram so everyone could attend. Okay, here's the situation. Giant robot death fleet wants to kill us all. We have 6 months to prepare. Questions? What's our primary objective? Asked Captain Lee of the Beijing. Survive. Secondary objective, destroy the enemy fleet. but surviving is the main goal. No heroic sacrifices unless absolutely necessary. We win by being alive at the end, not dead in the middle. War Master Krell attended the briefing. He had fought beside humans for a year now. He still did not understand them, but he had learned to trust them. "What is our tactical approach?" he asked. "We use what we're calling Plan November 7. We don't meet them head-on. We hit them from multiple angles, target their command vessels, and exploit their synchronized network." Sophie's team found a weakness in their system architecture. Chris figured out how to exploit it. "We're going to give their entire fleet a software update it doesn't want." "You are going to hack the Devourer fleet?" Krell's voice carried disbelief. "Basically. While they're rebooting, we disable their ships." Ryan checked his notes. "Also, we've got a potluck scheduled for Friday before we deploy, so make sure everyone signs up for something. I don't want another situation where we have 12 potato salads and no main dishes." The briefing ended. Krell stayed on the line. "You scheduled a potluck," he said. "Yeah, morale is important. People fight better when they're not stressed. We are facing extinction." "Right, so we should definitely have good food first." Krell disconnected. He still did not understand humans. The Devourer fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 300 massive ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Council space. Their weapons powered up. Their targeting systems locked onto the nearest inhabited worlds. The combined human and Council fleet was waiting. "All ships, this is Commander Mitchell. Proceed with Plan November 7. Remember, we've got that potluck on Friday, so let's wrap this up." Ryan turned to his crew. "Danny, get us in position." "Sophie, start the upload sequence." "Chris, you ready with the virus?" "Ready," Chris confirmed. He was in the medical bay with his tablet, about to hack a fleet of killer robots. "Uploading now." The virus was simple. Kevin Lim's high school project, refined by professionals, weaponized by military strategists. It targeted the Devourer fleet's master control protocol and sent a single command to reboot and install updates. The Devourer ships had not updated their software in 10,000 years. The update was long overdue. 300 massive warships stopped moving. Their weapons powered down. Their systems began the reboot sequence. 17 minutes. That was how long the update would take. "All ships, engage targets. Disable, don't destroy. We want to study these things when we're done." Ryan watched his tactical display. "And someone remind me to send Kevin Lim a thank you note." His code worked perfectly. The battle was not dramatic. There were no heroic speeches or last stands. The human and Council forces simply moved through the frozen Devourer fleet and systematically disabled each ship. They cut engines, destroyed weapons, and stripped targeting systems. When the Devourer fleet finished rebooting, they woke up to find themselves disarmed and surrounded. "Well, that was easier than expected," Danny said. "We got lucky," Ryan replied. "The virus worked first try. Usually takes a few attempts. Should we celebrate?" Nicole asked. "After the paperwork, I need to file about 40 reports. The galaxy was saved. The greatest threat in 10,000 years had been defeated. Not through overwhelming force or heroic sacrifice, but through a high school student's insight and systematic execution. The Council organized ceremonies, awards, parades. Earth sent its representatives. They accepted the honors politely, thanked everyone for their cooperation, and went home. Captain Ryan Mitchell attended one ceremony, received a medal, and filed his after-action report. Then he requested 2 weeks of leave because his daughter was graduating college and he had promised to be there. "You saved the galaxy," the Council representative said. "You are a hero. I did my job. A lot of people did their jobs. That's how work gets done." Ryan checked his watch. "Is there anything else?" "I have a flight to catch." On the Council flagship, Commander Zekthor watched humans return to their normal lives. The war was over. The threat was eliminated, and humans were already moving on to the next thing. Ambassador El floated beside him. They do not celebrate their victory. No, to them it was not a victory. It was a task completed. Zekthor pulled up data on human activities. "Look, they are already back to their normal routines, working, studying, raising families." As if nothing happened. They saved 300 billion lives. Yes, and now they are going to potlucks and graduation ceremonies. Zekthor turned from the window. That is what makes them terrifying. They do not change. Disaster does not break them. Victory does not inflate them. They simply continue being ordinary. Elder Vren had been listening. She was 800 years old and she had finally understood what humans were. They have normalized the impossible, she said quietly. They treat saving the galaxy the same way they treat any other job. Because to them, it is just another job. Yes, Zekthor agreed. We have been asking the wrong question, Elder Vren continued. The ship appeared over New York City just after sunrise. It was massive, bigger than any building below it and shaped like nothing humans had ever built. The metal surface seemed to shift colors in the morning light, going from silver to deep blue and back again. Commander Zekthor stood on the bridge of the Valorian diplomatic vessel and watched the planet below. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the primitive world. Behind him, Ambassador Yell hummed nervously. Her crystalline body reflected the light from dozens of monitors. They have nuclear weapons, Zekthor said. Hundreds of them, scattered across their divided nations. Will they fire on us? Yell asked. Most species do. They panic. They see us as a threat. Zekthor touched a control panel. I give them 1 hour before the first missile launch. The ship descended slowly toward Central Park. Zekthor had chosen this location carefully. It was open space in the middle of their largest city. Every news camera on the planet would see them land. Every government would know aliens had arrived. The landing struts touched grass at exactly 6 a.m. local time. Zekthor waited. The crew waited. Everyone expected chaos. Nothing happened. By 7 a.m, there were still no missiles. No fighter jets screaming overhead. No panic in the streets. By 8 a.m, Zekthor saw something that made his translator chip malfunction for 3 seconds. There were food vendors setting up around the perimeter. Small wheeled carts with umbrellas. Humans were buying something called hot dogs and coffee. This is wrong, Illa whispered. Where is their fear? Lieutenant Jake Morrison arrived at Central Park at 9 a.m. He was Air Force assigned to security detail, and he was running late because traffic had been terrible. He carried a coffee in one hand and his security badge in the other. Sorry I'm late, he told Officer Lisa Bennett. She was NYPD already at the security checkpoint. No problem, Lisa said. She was checking her phone. My daughter has soccer practice at 4. Think we'll be done by then? Jake looked at the alien ship sitting in the middle of the park. It hummed quietly. Probably. Looks like they're still getting ready. Inside the ship, Zekthor was not getting ready. He was trying to understand what he was seeing. His monitor showed humans setting up tables. Folding tables. They had chairs. They had refreshments. There was an actual line forming. People with clipboards and tablets were waiting patiently. They are queuing, Zekthor said. His voice carried disbelief. What is queuing? Yell asked, standing in line, waiting their turn. Zekthor zoomed in on the crowd. They are treating this like a normal event. Should we wait? One of the crew members asked. For what? Zekthor turned all 4 eyes on him. For them to panic? They are not panicking. Look at them. They are drinking coffee and checking their communication devices. The decision was made. The ramp extended from the ship. Zekthor walked down first, followed by Yella and 4 security officers. Each officer was heavily armed and trained for hostile first contact scenarios. They reached the bottom of the ramp and stopped. Zekthor had given first contact speeches on 40 different worlds. He knew how this worked. The natives would either attack, flee, or fall to their knees in worship. Instead, a human female stepped forward from the line. She smiled. She held out her hand. Welcome to Earth, she said. I'm Helen Grant. I'm a xenobiologist from MIT. We've prepared a presentation on our basic biology and culture. Would you prefer PowerPoint or do you have your own format? Zekthor stared at the extended hand. His translator provided information. The gesture was a greeting, non-threatening. The human was waiting patiently. He reached out and touched her hand briefly. Her skin was warm. She didn't flinch from his scaled fingers. PowerPoint, he managed to say. It's a presentation software. Pretty standard. But if you have something else, we can adapt. Helen gestured to the tables behind her. We have scientists from 12 different fields here. Linguists, biologists, physicists, anthropologists. We also have representatives from the United Nations, but they're over there. She pointed to another table. We thought it would be easier to organize by specialty first. Yella floated closer. You are not afraid? Helen considered this. I'm nervous. This is the biggest moment in human history. But afraid? Not really. You came in a diplomatic ship, you landed in a public space, and you walked out unarmed. She glanced at the security officers. Okay, armed, but not shooting. So that seems like you want to talk. Most species run, Zekthor said. Well, we've been watching for you for decades, said he, radio telescopes, all that. We kind of figured someone was out there. Helen checked her tablet. Actually, we picked up what we think was your long-range communication about 6 months ago. Couldn't decode it, but we knew something was coming. This was not in any of Zekthor's first contact protocols. He had files on 3,000 species. None of them had been this calm. You should be panicking, he said. Why? Helen asked. You're here to talk, right? So let's talk. The next 3 hours were the strangest of Zekthor's life. The humans had organized everything. There were scheduled presentations. There were break periods with refreshments. Someone had made name tags. Dr. Helen Grant gave a presentation on human biology. She used simple slides with pictures. She explained their evolution, their genetic structure, their basic needs. She spoke the way someone might explain a new product at a business meeting. A physicist named Dr. Marcus Webb presented human technology levels. He was honest about their limitations. We've only just started with fusion power. Our faster-than-light theories are all theoretical. We've got people on Mars, but that's about as far as we've gotten. Zekthor listened. He took notes. This was all standard first contact information exchange. What was not standard was the tone. There was no begging for technology, no demands, no threats. The humans were just sharing information. During the lunch break, someone brought Zekthor something called a sandwich. He didn't eat it, but the gesture confused him. You are treating this very casually, he told Helen. She was eating her own sandwich. Are we? I guess it doesn't feel casual to us. This is huge. But panicking won't help. We figured we should just be professional about it. Professional, Zekthor repeated. You know, organized, polite, efficient. Helen finished her sandwich. Is that wrong? How do other species do first contact? They panic, Zekthor said. They riot. Their governments collapse. Their religions fracture. There is chaos for years. Helen looked genuinely surprised. Really? That seems counterproductive. That evening, Zekthor sent his first report to the Galactic Council. He tried to explain what had happened. The words felt inadequate. First contact successful. No casualties, no panic. Humans have responded with unusual calm. They organized meetings. They shared information freely. They offered food. Recommend proceeding with caution. Something about this species is deeply unusual. Back at the security checkpoint, Jake Morrison was getting ready to go home. His shift was over. So aliens are real, Lisa said. She was packing up her gear. Yeah, Jake said. They seem okay. Kind of tall. Lots of eyes. You still coming to the barbecue on Saturday? Lisa asked. Wouldn't miss it. Should I bring anything? Just beer. See you then. Jake drove home through evening traffic. He called his wife from the car. How was work? She asked. Interesting. First contact with aliens happened. They're pretty polite. That's nice, honey. Can you pick up milk on the way home? Sure. Need anything else? In orbit above Earth, Ambassador Yele watched the lights of the cities below. Millions of lights. Billions of humans. All of them just continuing their normal lives as if nothing extraordinary had happened. They are not normal, she said to Zekthor. No, he agreed. They are not. But I cannot explain why. The ship hummed quietly in the darkness. Below Earth turned slowly. Somewhere in New York City, a food vendor was closing his hot dog cart and counting his money. He had made good sales today. All those people coming to see the aliens had been hungry. It had been, he thought, a pretty good Tuesday.